In the early stages of startups, when you're still validating your idea, being perfectionist is actually dangerous. You probably think that you should write scalable, performant code, implement a bunch of features in your applications, and also sprinkle some animations on top in order to be successful. But for early stage startups, this is actually not the best way how you can approach it. In today's video, we're going to talk about how we should approach it and how we should start it. So let's get started. What's up, Notjust developers? My name is Vadim, and in today's video we're gonna talk about MVPs, or minimum viable product. So when you start a startup, I'm pretty sure you have very high aspirations for it. You envision it, how it will revolutionize the world and how it will make it a better place. But if you start with building the end solution the way you see it, you will soon realize how difficult and how many resources it requires in order to build that end solution that you see. At that point, one option would be to give up because it's too complicated, it requires too many resources, maybe you don't have the necessary skills to build it, or any other excuse that you can think of. But that's not what a Notjust developer would do. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither should your startup. You should start by building a simple MVP in order to test your idea. MVP stands for minimum viable product, or how others like to call it, minimum lovable product. Basically call it however you want, but the idea is that an MVP is the first version of your application that is actually usable, which focuses only on the core functionalities of the idea or of the application. And the focus here is on the core. What I mean here is, at this stage, don't invest a lot of time into how your authentication screens look like, or if you have like forgot password flows or any other features that are required for an application, but it will not differentiate it and it will not tell you if the thing that you want to build will actually solve a problem of the end user. So that's why we need to focus only on that part that will actually solve a problem of an end user, and be scrappy all over the place around that which is not the core of our application. An MVP should also be usable, and I really like this drawing here that explains if your end goal is to build a car, you shouldn't start by building a wheel first and then some steering wheel and so on, because just by having a wheel you are not gonna solve the end problem of a person, which is getting from point A to point B. Instead, you should start by building a skateboard, then a bicycle, all the way until you get to the car and build the car. Because in this situation, you are actually solving people's problem, the same problem that you want to solve, getting from point A to point B, but in a different form, which is much easier to build, test, prototype, iterate over it, and then eventually get to the end solution, end goal, which is building the actual car. You should be scrappy about it. You don't have to spend a lot of time over optimizing things that you're still not sure that will provide value to the end user, and you're still not sure if this feature that you are investing so much time optimizing and fixing and making sure it's scalable, you're not sure if that feature will actually end up in the end product. At this moment, you're just testing and seeing what sticks, what your user loves, and what they are coming back for. At this moment, you will pivot a lot, and you should be very flexible about it, because you might start developing a feature, you release it to the end users, and then you realize that this feature is not something that they need or they want. And at that point, you should be ready to delete that feature completely. And that's why it's very important to be scrappy, because if you invest like a couple of weeks into one feature, and then you see the data back from the users that they're actually not using it and it's not something that you expect it to be, at that point it's going to be much harder to delete that feature, and you're going to say like, no, I'm going to improve it, and you're going to invest even more time into that feature without an actual purpose. The end goal of an MVP is to further validate our idea and to see if there is demand on market for the solution that we're trying to build. Because during the previous phase where we ran interviews, what we try to validate is we try to validate the problem. We actually went to talk with users to understand if they have this problem in their life, but the same problem can be solved in multiple ways. If you want to lose weight, one way would be to go to the gym, or another way would be to have a surgery of some kind, and the solutions are different, but the problem is the same. So now in this stage of building an MVP, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find a product market fit. You're trying to see if the idea that you have, the solution that you're building, is fitting the problem and the market actually needs it. And until we get to that point, we should iterate our idea, try different things, pivot a couple of times until we actually get to a point where we have this product market fit, and then we can scale it, and that's already another stage of your startup. Alright, so now that we talked about MVPs and why we should start with an MVP, let me tell you about how I apply this knowledge to a real use case to the startup that I'm building for the Not Just Startup Challenge. So my idea is to build a Duolingo-like application for developers that will help you learn faster and easier programming in a very interactive way with some cool exercises that will help you understand these concepts, and also that you can use on the go directly on your mobile phone. I want the application to be very extensive, to cover everything from the fundamentals up to programming languages, to different programming languages, and then going into the frameworks and different tech stacks. I also want everyone to have a freedom to choose their own path, being it mobile development, web development, or any other path that they want to evolve into. I also want to build a lot of features around gamifications in order to make this application engaging and fun to use day by day. And if I continue talking, I can probably talk more than 20 minutes only about the features and ideas that I want to implement in this application. If I would start with that, it would probably take me years to build, and by that moment, I'm not sure if anyone would need this application. For that reason, I'm gonna start with a simple MVP in order to test this idea with real users as soon as possible. And yeah, I decided to cut down on some of the features until I get to the core of this idea, and then that would help me validate it. So instead of covering a lot of topics, I will focus only on one topic, which is going to be Introduction to JavaScript, that will cover the JavaScript basics. Instead of implementing a fully fledged quiz application with a bunch of type of questions which are quite challenging to get right in the context of programming, I will first start with defining this learning path that will help you understand what you should learn one after another. This learning path will serve as a roadmap, and I think it's very valuable for people that are getting into coding, specifically for self-taught developers. Instead of creating all of these materials for the application, writing the tutorials and so on, I'll instead curate a list of useful resources for every topic that you can use to learn that specific topic. And in that way, I'm gonna save a bunch of time on creating the materials because I'm gonna simply curate them. These resources could be official documentation, blog posts that I find, YouTube videos, because I know that people learn way better through video form, and any other materials that I will think that is gonna be valuable for that specific topic. So that's my plan. That's how I simplified my big idea into a very simple application that I can build in a couple of weeks. And actually, I already have a working prototype that you can see here, which we developed during the previous week's live stream. My next steps would be to implement a simple backend to store all of this data, and also to create this learning path that will require a couple of days to structure everything, to gather all the resources that I need to put there. After that, I'm gonna be ready to release the very first version of application, to test it with real users and get early feedback, which is gonna help me a lot in the next phases of this startup. Alright, that was everything that I wanted to share with you today. And I also want to remind you that we are in the second week of the Not Just Startup Challenge, which is a 7-week challenge where we all, our Not Just development community, are building our startups. Also, we have free prizes for the best startups at the end. And yeah, you have a chance to win up to $1,000 for your startups. During this challenge, I also work on a startup that I just discussed about, and I share everything here publicly with you. So we share both the technical side in weekly live streams. I invite you tomorrow to join the live streams every Friday. And also the business side we share in these short form videos that you can watch. And if you enjoy them, please smash the like button, because I really would appreciate that, and it will help us understand what content you would like most. Now, let me know down below what is your excuse for not starting your startup. And in the first day, I'm gonna try to answer all of these comments, and I'm gonna try to tell how I would overcome that excuse that you have. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell not to miss any future videos. And take care, stay hydrated, and build awesome startups.